High school girls are more impressed with pilots than they are with your Snapchat streaks.
The pilot shortage has been going on for a couple of years and is projected to go on for decades.
We're trying to get more African-American kids right here in the state of Alabama who grew up in the shadows of Tuskegee, where those giants once stood in aviation. We're trying to take that legacy and continue to move it forward so that it doesn't become part of Alabama's past, but it actually remains a part of Alabama's future.
I got started flying at age 16. I found out through this one organization, the Order Medallions. I got started because of my LO from the Air Force Academy, which I'm going to attending in July next week, really, the Air Force Academy Prep School. They funded me through my solo flight. It's an old group of military pilots that set out to help young students get interested in flying. Through my solo, I met one of the best instructors I ever had, and a lot of people I met, Chris Ham, my instructor, who's been a big mentor for me, not just for flying, but also for the Air Force Academy since he is a graduate. He's taught me a lot through life.
You can get a picture of that too.
There was that big issue, that conversation about what I'm gonna do about funding on flights. Because usually average flight on a really good typical train day was about around $400.
It's been a dream of his since he was, I think, about 3 years old. Of course, I'm in aviation, and so he's just kind of always aspired to do that. What the Red Tails Foundation has helped him achieve is some of his dreams, some of his goals at this young age. The thing that it's also taught him, just being exposed to different flyers and different personnel that have been involved in the foundation, has allowed a level of mentorship in the aviation field where he's actually been able to get more of an idea of what goes on, and from different and various people who basically have just motivated him even more about his dreams and just given him ideas of doors that are opportunities, or just things that he can do. But as far as the family goes, it has been a tremendous help on us, both financially, to allow him to be able to do that. No parent wants to not be able to support their children's dreams, especially as something as complex as flying and being an aviator. This has really just allowed him to be able to see that he can touch his goals. And through the motivation and just teamwork of my family and the Red Tail Scholarship Foundation, they've really given him a good foundation to start out on, and to leapfrog him on up, to let him know that, hey, this is an achievable dream that we can do.
Usually average flight on a really good typical train day was about around $400 for me and my instructor to fly. Being a senior, graduation came up too. So my dad and me sat down and talked. We looked at different options, what we could do. Probably me getting a job after football season is starting to help pay too. We looked at other scholarships, and that's how we found the Red Tail Scholarship. It was actually on one of my flights. Without them giving me that head start, I wouldn't have attained this goal. But with the scholarship there, the application process wasn't too bad. Just a simple application, nearly like a job kind of, but more of a college type, nearly more to just about grades and what you want to do, why do you want to fly. Over the phone I could tell Colonel Sparrow was a really nice guy.
Yeah, try not to go more than a week without flying if you can. Talk to Eric about putting some funds in an account for you so you don't have to stop right now.
Over the phone I could tell Colonel Sparrow was a really nice guy, really encouraging. He was really enthused on wanting to meet me and learn about why I wanted to fly and why did I want to earn the scholarship. If few days later, got another email, Colonel Sparrow, saying I got the scholarship. And after I'd done that, I was straight back to flying.
So the Red Tail Scholarship Foundation is meant to primarily increase the numbers of pilots in the United States. It's a perfect time to do something like this. Specifically, it's designed for African Americans and modeled after the amazing legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. Tuskegee is right up the road from Montgomery, and in 2007, at the 187th Fighter Wing, we were honored to have our one fighter squadron there become the 100th Fighter Squadron, which is a Tuskegee Legacy squadron. So it didn't take long to realize that we didn't have a whole bunch of pilots who are African American beating our door down, coming in to apply, and my buddy Rich Peace and I, that I fly F-16s with, took it upon ourselves to just get proactive in the community and try to, well, just help a little bit with that. Was it a little bit different being in that airplane all alone?
Yes, sir. Felt and heard a lot of different things. One thing I immediately noticed, like takeoff, was quiet, but then also the plane lifted off a lot more quicker than with somebody else in there. So it was a little weight loss.
So the first time I met Major Rich Peace, it was actually at the interview for the Red Tails Foundation Scholarship. I met him first, just coming up and shaking his hand, and just a few words we exchanged. I could tell he was a really nice guy, really enthused. Same way I met Colonel Sparrow, really enthused about the scholarship and about wanting to learn my story. Just an amazing guy overall, and a positive role model and also a mentor. With him just being the only black pilot at Danley Field at the Air National Guard out there just for a few years, and now they're having more. With him just doing that, it shows a lot with the history of the Tuskegee Airmen that he's helped with that in that role.
Red Tail Scholarship Fund is hugely important, hugely important. And I don't think you guys even realize the scope of what we're hoping to make the scholarship and why. Colonel Sparrow and I kind of started putting this thing together, but right now, 2%, I fly for Delta as well as flying here, right? So 2% of the commercial airline pilots are African American, and 2% of the military pilots, military aviation, is African American. There's a pretty big discrepancy there. And I think the reason for that discrepancy, in my opinion, is just a very, very limited lack of exposure to the aviation industry. Growing up in an Air Force family, both my parents were Air Force officers, living on bases, watching airplanes take off and land every single day. Even in that environment, I had very, very little exposure to aviation. Like, it was just, there was like, man, there's a bunch of guys who fly airplanes. It looks like a lot of fun, but it was never something that I thought was, for me. And I know you're what, halfway through? You had your solo finally?
Yes, sir.
And what happened after that? That was the last that I knew about.
Been doing good. I did a cross country last week. And,
Where'd you go?
Up to Silicon.
Okay.
Up there.
That's where I did my cross country, is Silicon.
Yeah, and then did some light flying Tuesday, and then probably school was just now in for me today. So
Okay.
probably start getting some solo time in next week.
Did you fly over the big Home Depot on your way in there?
Yeah.
That wasn't there when I did mine. So you guys don't know this, but all my family, on my mom's side of the family, is from Silicaga. So my grandfather, who he passed away about a year ago, but he was 100 years old when he passed, so probably good fight. His mom was 110. So, yeah. So we'll see. I won't make it that long. I'll probably end up a smoking hole in the ground somewhere. But my grandfather was a World War II veteran. He's a medic and in the Army Air Corps before he was even Air Force. And his daughter, my mom, is also Air Force veteran. So, but man, when he walked out, and it was my solo cross country. And so he walked out there and he was kind of looking around. He's super proud to see his grandson flying an airplane, and he's looking around. He's like, well, who else is with you? Like, it's just, we call him Chief. Like, it's just me, Chief. I'm the only one. He thought that was the most amazing thing. That is, that as a grandson, a black pilot flew an airplane by himself into Silicon, Alabama. So he thought it was the most amazing thing ever. So he honestly, he probably thought he'd never see that in his day, so that's awesome. Yeah, so keep flying Silicaga.
and look, kids that always come to me asking me, how is it to fly? How did you get started? It feels like every time I get a cockpit, it feels like I was born to be here.
You feel closer to God up there?
I can say that, yes. I feel looking down at everything and just experiencing a lot more, and it's just amazing. I thank him for everything. As soon as I landed that first touchdown, in my mind, I completed that dream. It's been really incredible. A couple of my friends are always asking me, dude, you need to do an airplane prom proposal. So I'm just like, how do I do that? And they're just like, man, you should take her up, get a huge sign, and just fly over and let her read it. And so right now that is in the works of planning.
Your girlfriend?
No,
Okay.
she's not, but I got a feeling she might want to be after this.
So were you the only student at your high school who is flying a plane or has ever flown their own plane?
Yes, sir. Out of my knowledge, ain't nobody else done what I've just done.
Does all your buddies there know that you're doing this?
Yes, sir. My instructors, everybody.
Yeah, great. So you'll have plenty to brag about on Monday.
Yes, sir. They're all coming out here like, Johnny, you're crazy and anything.
A lot of people I met, Chris Ham, my instructor, who's been a big mentor for me, not just for flying, but also for the Air Force Academy since he is a graduate. He's taught me a lot.
He knows that. You should know.
Yeah, I should.
You should.
I just went there.
What's the H stand for?
Hatchback. How big?
Don't be making up acronyms. Don't be making up.
Emergency.
High was.
How was? He's taught me a lot through life, a lot of things to do. He's taught me some of the good things about flying and our own set of rules that are between us.
Dots and stuff, do you know what that is?
Non-directional.
Yep, non-directional thinking, that's exactly right.
They set a goal that I've been trying to reach since I was at a young age.
Now, when you're doing this, he's gonna stump you. This stuff on here or wherever, he's gonna pull one out of from Colorado or something like that. And he's gonna find something that stumps you.
Also, something new I've learned from my instructor was a board that keeps the profile or the order of events of what's going to happen during the check ride.
Come look at the legend. Don't be afraid to come look at this. If he's gonna ask you 12 things. If you look over here 6 times,
You're done.
you're okay. Look over here 7 times, you're done.
When crosswinds, and it's like you're steadily looking for aircraft in other directions, make sure everything's checking. So I'm moving around constantly. So it's making me even hotter in the aircraft. It's a little bit of variable everywhere. So I'm getting winds from all sides, crosswind, headwind, tailwinds, just trying to fight winds all overall. Originally, he's over there just sitting there looking at me, watching me do everything. I'm sitting over here finding maybe 10 to 7 crosswind miles per hour. A lot of steep turns, just turning around, just imagining this is what you're doing. You're pulling hard, pulling G's later on. But just going down, one thing Chris always taught me also in the aircraft was when I do my check ride, imagine you're flying with Bob, but also with his kids in the back. Keep that in the back of your head. Well, that worked partially until Bob came in and said, all right, I want you to, when we get up here, I need you to fly the plane like you would, like if nobody was in here except you. It's just only you, not me. But I've flown solo lots of time, had plenty of time, solo time, to say that I was proficient and able to perform each of these tests at the best of my ability and be able to land safely, fly safely, and just take care of aircraft. We came down, came back in to land at Montgomery. Little things were a little silent, just calmed down. Winds had calmed down just a little bit. I remember the last thing he said before we landed was just, all right, I want you to do a no flap forward slip landing into Montgomery. That was the last thing he said to me before we landed. We landed, he didn't say nothing. Landed, taxi back, got into parking as soon as it shut down. Had a few work, not really much. I was checking everything, and he tapped me. I looked over at him. He reached his hand over and said, "Congratulations, you passed." At that moment, I wasn't in more of a shock. I was just like, wow, it really just happened that I just passed my check ride, and that I really just completed one of the biggest dreams in my life as a kid growing up, to have my own pilot's license. Came in, he landed, met him, nice guy. First, I just really known him by name and over the phone, so I never knew to put a face to a voice. So when I first met him, good guy, good sense of humor. We joked around a little bit before the check ride. Even during the check ride, we joked around some on a few points. But at the beginning, Chris sitting there for a little bit for all the admin work, it was pretty not nerve-wracking for me. It was just, I knew I was well prepared.
To start off, after I got started flying, I had my dad more interested with him being a loadmaster on the C-130s. I always wondered how he decided Air Force and getting a job, and he told me one night, actually I got back in from a late flight, he was still up. We sat down talking, he was asking about how the flight went. And I told him, and he was like, you know something, I always wanted to fly, I always wanted to be a pilot. But he told me at the same time of when he was about my age, back then, there was no really like funding or financial aid or to help him get his license. So he was like, he got what he could and get as close as he could to flying. So that's why he ended up going a couple years on crew chief on the B-52s, and now he's a loadmaster in the reserve. He gets smile every time he sees a video of me flying, or I tell him how good a flight went or some of the things I've done. He recently from my trip from Tampa, he's like, how are you? You're 18 years old, got your pilot license, and you're taking a trip down to Tampa, and it's all paid for. He was like, how? When have you ever heard of that? And I was like, it was really a blessing, and it's gonna be a great adventure with him through this, because I know he's gonna be asking me questions as I go on and take on more experience in my flying. As soon as I get through, I'm actually looking at getting certified as an instructor. So at that point, if my dad's still looking towards to getting his license, I will be able to actually teach him, which would be a really big, that'd be a great relationship, but it'd be an awesome time to teach my dad how to